I'm Edie Lush. I'm here at Hub Culture. It's 2020. We're in Davos, and I'm here with none other than Bill McDonough. He's the inventor, the creator of the building that we're standing in, the architect even, the Icehouse. So it's so exciting. We're here for the 5th year. Is that right?
That's right.
And tell me, how is the vision of what you thought the Icehouse could be, the innovation, circular economy, how is it manifested and how do you feel?
Well, I feel fabulous about it. For one thing, I always wondered how it would be in the light, because it's a building designed around light. And as you notice, it has a new kind of insulation that can transmit light. So
it's warm. I mean, it feels really comfortable in here.
And so I love the ironies of it. When you think it's the Icehouse, you look up and say the walls are this thick, but they have equivalent of that much insulation with their nanotechnology. And so I think the oddness of it, that you go into a room that looks really like it should be freezing and it's warm, or you go to a room and be in a place where you think it'll be dark, but it's all light on all 5 sides here. So that part of it is just experiential. That's always a delight to actually see the building in real life.
And tell me about your vision for how this building could be a manifestation of the circular economy in practice, which, as we know, as we grow towards a world of 10 billion people, is going to be even more important. Tell me how, just give me some examples of how we see that around the Icehouse.
Well, for one thing, it is designed to be right here. So it is designed to be on a roof here in Davos, with these 2 windows each having their own mountain. So the idea of being place specific, which may not seem obvious here, is actually astonishing and really important. So it is designed for its place. And then secondly, the idea that it's ephemeral, that it only is here for a week, is a really interesting perspective on what we call technical nutrition. So like, this is aluminum and polymer, and these carpets are infinitely recyclable, thermoplastic polyolefin, and nylon for chemical recycling. So this is a technical nutrient building in our language. These are materials that can go back to technology ad infinitum. And then you have biological nutrients, which is nature, which can be regenerative. This can be repetitive. So the idea that you have things across generations over and over again. So it becomes a question of biological things have an end of life, and then they regenerate by being hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and go back to soil and so on. Whereas technical nutrients are going back into use. And so we never say end of life when it's a technical material. You have end of use. And then the question becomes, what's the next use? That's the circular economy. So you're designing for next use. So in the case of this building, instead of designing a building that gets thrown away, like sort of a lot of temporary buildings around here.
Not going to mention names.
Yeah, we won't mention names. But anything that's going to be torn apart and thrown in a dump, that's totally different here. Every piece of this comes apart. So it's designed for disassembly. It's a building as a material bank. It's designed for reuse. Things like that. And so that's one thing that's special about this. So being the 5th year, we can see this has also been in other places. This went to Amsterdam 1 year, so it can travel. So something that is designed for reuse and then becomes durable by its reuse is really interesting.
You started talking about the circular economy several years ago, right? And so the idea of cradle to cradle hasn't always been so in people's minds, I'd say. How do you think that this idea of the circular economy of cradle to cradle has gained speed? Are you pleased with how it's being implemented by others, or do you think there's still much further to go?
Oh, there's a long way to go. But like we say in sustainability, it's going to take forever, but that's the point. The idea is that it can go on forever, so it will take forever. But we're seeing an explosion of it now. It's very exciting. It's taken quite a number of years. I've been working on these things for 45 years. So for me, it's sort of an overnight sensation.
Right.
Yeah.
And so tell me, what have been the projects that you've been working on in the last year or so that you've been the most excited about?
Well, we're working on a few cities, which are pretty exciting. And there's one city that will be adopting cradle to cradle and circular economy, and also now the circular carbon economy. Because one of the things I want to do with circular economy this coming year is be very vigorous, and we'll be doing it for the G20. So we will get in front of the world leaders with it, is the circular carbon economy.
Interesting.
Because the G20 is in Riyadh this year. So it's a sort of an amazing moment to actually deal with a country that is based on hydrocarbons, to start thinking about what is the circular carbon economy. So natural systems, it's almost like a fountain where the carbon in the planet surface has accrued over millennia, and actually almost, to the molecule in millions of years.
Right.
It has been accruing on the Earth's surface as humus. And it's because of the sun and photons and carbon from the atmosphere becoming soil. And it's very interesting that humus is the base word for the word human and humility. So to be humble is to be grounded. So working from the idea of soil as a basis, and then you look at oil, and you realize that oil is ancient soil. It just had the S taken away from it with time and pressure. So oil to soil is something very interesting for the next few generations, rather than let's burn the ancient soil and put the carbon back in the atmosphere. We can actually use it as a durable good and not be letting it go fugitive into the atmosphere. So the idea of materials that are accruing carbon on durable forms on the Earth's surface for use and reuse becomes really interesting to me. So this year I've been focusing on that at every level of the molecule, to the region, to the scale of the planet. And so now we're integrating those things. And so when I started designing buildings, it's funny, but in 1989, I designed a building for Poland, skyscraper. And part of the design was that they would plant 10 square miles of trees to go with the building to compensate for the energy used to make it and the energy used to operate it. And that's 30 years ago.
Gosh.
Proposing 10 square miles of trees to meet the building's offset need for carbon in the atmosphere. And here we are 30 years later, and we're doing it again.
Doing it again.
But how much has been done in the meantime?
Right.
So
Okay.
it takes time.
All right, Bill, thank you very much for the Icehouse, for stopping by the Hub Culture camera here at Hub Culture Davos 2020, and I'm Edie Lush.